going on, everybody? Welcome back to Fox Weather Live. I'm Bob Van Dillen. Happy Independence Day, everyone. Unfortunately, we are tracking another major hurricane as it moves closer to Mexico, possibly affecting the United States over the weekend. More on that in a bit. Look at the video right here out of Jamaica. This is what we saw yesterday afternoon. Those palms are just taking a major beating. It was a Category 4 storm that just brushed down south of Jamaica yesterday afternoon. Those winds were howling. We had at least 80-mile-per-hour winds recorded out there. That was right at the capital right here. You're talking about Kingston. Look at the winds just blowing into Montego Bay. That is an amazing shot. Poor visibility, obviously. It's not just raindrops. They're pieces of raindrops that are blinding you when you get out there. So the wind, extremely strong. We were going for a storm surge that could have been up to 9 feet in some of these areas. So we'll be looking at all this. Obviously, we've got power outages out there as well. Yeah, that's what 81-mile-per-hour gusts looks like right there. That's in Kingston, Jamaica. Again, that was yesterday afternoon. Palm trees, they can take a beating. Looks like that one's doing okay for now, but I'll tell you, these winds were closing in on 140 mile per hour when you're just offshore. So it was a Category 4 storm as it went right through the region. So let's see what's going on right now. Where does it go from here? Again, we've got this huge area of high pressure. It's sitting over the deep south, getting across the mid-south. It's a dense atmosphere, so this storm is not going to be able to break through and go to the north, at least not yet. That area of high pressure has to weaken a little bit before it'll start to turn. So the next day, day and a half, 2 days, it's going to continue on that westerly track underneath that ridge of high pressure. Once it gets off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula, this will be over the weekend, that ridge of high pressure, unfortunately, is going to start to change a little bit. It's going to start to move over and weaken, allowing for a northerly turn into the storm. So that brings into play the Texas coastline and northeast Mexico coast. So this is what we'll be following for the next few days. So once it gets over the Yucatan Peninsula, late tonight through tomorrow, it emerges into the Gulf, and then it looks like it's going to be bearing down on the western part of the Gulf of Mexico. All of the computer models are starting to come together right now, and you can see we're talking about this right around the Yucatan Peninsula, but then the spray gets out there pretty well. You're looking at several hundred miles of an error between Houston all the way down to Mexico City when you get inland that far. That's what we're watching. So still the track is a little bit up in the air, but here's the official track from the NHC, and you can see we are seeing this thing possibly gain a little bit more strength as it gets into the Gulf of Mexico. Brian Norcross, we were just talking to him. Here's what he had to say.
Something important to remember about this, we tend to think of this as, okay, it's going kind of up the cone in some kind of line. Okay, maybe it's going to favor the east side of the cone or maybe the west side of the cone in some line. But that's not really what the cone means, because if it were to go something like this, for example, just as an example, that's still staying in the cone, so that's still a good forecast. So the cone doesn't always mean going straight ahead. And one of the things that is important here is the forward speed of the system. And if you look at these lines from Saturday to Sunday, that's 24 hours, but look to Monday is 24 hours. So the system is slowing down, and this is kind of a high consensus in the forecast that when it gets near land somewhere here in the Western Gulf, it's going to slow its forward progress. Now, what does that mean? When storms slow their forward progress, the forecasts become more uncertain, more errors in the forecast, because a slight nudge one way or the other in a slow-moving storm can make it move in a different direction, where when you have a strong river of air, a slight nudge doesn't do much. So when we get a slow-moving storm, then we have bigger issues of exactly where the core of the storm might be moving. So when it gets up in here, the question is it going to start turning north somehow that will extend the effects up the Texas coast? Some of the indications are that that's true. And here you see in the computer models, look what they say. Some of them, a whole group of them, kind of bring it up to Brownsville, South Padre Island and so forth, and then kind of want to turn it to the north in some fashion. Now, if that happens right by the coast, you still have a lot of energy from the Gulf. If it happens inland, then you have a weaker storm, but you get an effect up on a bigger part of the Texas coast. And this is going to be in the late Sunday into Monday, Tuesday time frame when this will resolve itself.
And a slowing storm also means it rains over one spot for a longer period of time. So here's a quick look at how much rain could possibly fall if it's really a quick mover. So here's the way it goes. You see the yellow shaded areas right there. That's about 2 to 3 inches of rain. You start seeing the oranges pop up, and I think this is going to be fine-tuned upwards and probably to the north a little more as we see where the track is going to go and how slow it comes in. But that could be as much as 5 to 8 inches worth of rain as a possibility right there. So with this in mind, here's what we've got. WPC already has a level 2 out of 4 on the bad scale when it comes to flooding. And it's going to take place Sunday evening through Monday morning. That's when the rain really starts to ramp up for you for the southern part of Texas. Even if you don't take a direct hit, you're going to get the rain out of this, wind action, wave action as well. That is on Sunday. And then as it moves inland a little bit farther, here you are Sunday evening through Monday morning. The rain chances for flooding still out there, especially for the lower part of Texas.